Bea and Bob. On the surface, they seemed like any other couple. They had their routines, their inside jokes, shared meals, and dreams for the future. They had built a life together, brick by brick, or so Bea believed. Bob always told her she was the best thing that ever happened to him. He said she was the one, his soulmate. She was his world. Little did Bea know, her world was about to come crashing down. Behind Bob's charming smile and affectionate gestures lurked a sinister secret, a double life fueled by deceit and betrayal. Bob had been unemployed for some time. He claimed he was looking for work. He told Bea he was going on job interviews. In reality, Bob spent his days scouring the internet. He wasn't looking for jobs. He was looking for wealthy, vulnerable women. He was a predator in the digital jungle, and his prey was unsuspecting women seeking companionship. Bea worked tirelessly. She was a dedicated employee, always going the extra mile. Her paychecks were the lifeline of their household. Bob, on the other hand, was between jobs. At least, that's what he told Bea. The truth was far more sinister. Bob wasn't looking for work. He was too busy crafting his online persona. He presented himself as a successful entrepreneur, a man of the world. He claimed to have investments, properties, and a heart of gold. It was all a carefully constructed facade designed to lure women in. Bob would spend hours chatting with these women online. He would shower them with compliments. He would listen to their problems, offering empty words of comfort and support. He knew exactly what to say to gain their trust, to make them feel special. Once he had them hooked, he would reel them in, slowly but surely. Bob was a master manipulator. He knew how to play on women's emotions. He would invent elaborate stories about his businesses. He would tell them he was on the verge of a major deal. He just needed a little bit of capital to push it through. He promised them incredible returns on their investments. Of course, these businesses were as fictional as his online persona. The women, blinded by their affection for Bob and the promise of financial security, would willingly hand over their savings. Some even went as far as selling their homes, convinced that Bob would make good on his promises. They had fallen prey to his carefully constructed web of lies. Bob, meanwhile, was living the high life, using their money to fund his lavish lifestyle and shower other women with expensive gifts. Bob's deception went beyond financial exploitation. He had a knack for making women believe they were the one. He proposed to 2 different women in 2 different countries within the same year. He spun elaborate tales of love and destiny. He promised them the world, all while planning to leave them heartbroken and financially ruined. The weddings were planned, dresses were fitted, and invitations were sent. The women, on Cloud 9, were oblivious to Bob's true intentions. They were about to walk down the aisle with a man who had already promised his heart to another. When the truth finally unraveled, the fallout was devastating. The women were left emotionally scarred, financially drained, and utterly humiliated. As if juggling multiple fiancés wasn't enough, Bob's audacity knew no bounds. He had been seeing a woman, let's call her Sarah, for months. She lived in another city, conveniently far from his wife and his other unsuspecting victims. One day, Bob decided to introduce Sarah to Bea. He introduced her as his cousin, a blatant lie that showcased his chilling disregard for the truth. Bea, ever the trusting wife, welcomed Sarah with open arms. She had no reason to suspect her husband's deceit. She even went out of her way to make Sarah feel comfortable. Little did she know, she was entertaining the woman who was, in Bob's twisted reality, his other partner. The emotional toll on Bea was immeasurable. The weight of Bob's betrayal crushed her spirit. She had given him her heart, her trust, her life savings, and he had repaid her with lies and deceit. The realization that the life they had built together was nothing but a sham sent her spiraling into a deep depression. The financial burden only added to her despair. She was now saddled with debt, the consequence of Bob's reckless spending and manipulative schemes. The emotional scars, however, ran much deeper. Betrayal by the person you love most is a wound that cuts deep and takes a long time to heal. Unbeknownst to Bea, Bob's online activities continued. He had created a new profile on a dating site. His username? Married Lonely Man. This chillingly honest, yet utterly deceptive, moniker revealed his true intentions. He was a predator who thrived on the thrill of the chase, the excitement of manipulating women and exploiting their vulnerabilities. The women he interacted with online were none the wiser. They had no idea that the charming, successful entrepreneur they were falling for was nothing more than a con man, a wolf in sheep's clothing. Bob, it seemed, was incapable of change. Deception was in his DNA, a twisted game he played with no regard for the consequences. The truth, as they say, has a way of coming out. It might take time, but it always surfaces eventually. Bob's web of lies began to unravel when one of his online victims stumbled upon a social media post about his upcoming wedding. She recognized Bob instantly and realized she had been duped. Outraged and heartbroken, she reached out to Bea, sharing her story and exposing Bob's double life. The news hit Bea like a ton of bricks. It was the final nail in the coffin of their marriage, the confirmation of her worst fears. Armed with this newfound knowledge, Bea decided to take back her life. She confronted Bob, demanding answers and an end to the charade. This was the start of her journey to healing, to reclaiming her life and her dignity.